Hey, thank you for tuning into another episode of AutoFix-AdvisorCast with your host, Michael Doherty. Today, we're going to be talking about figuring out the scheduling puzzle and how to maximize service bay utilization. This is a topic that I was asked to talk about from Chris Cotton of AutoFix, and he had actually entitled it Mastering the scheduling puzzle to maximize service or service bay utilization. And being honest, mastering it isn't something that really applies. And I only say that because there's so many variables and there's so many different shops that have different setups and whatnot. So I'm going to relabel it to figuring out the scheduling puzzle to maximize service bay utilization. So I think first and foremost, getting into that particular topic before we start talking about the scheduling process, I think it's very important to one understand that figuring out, or I'm sorry, I think it's very important to understand from a service advisor's perspective that when that phone rings, especially if it's a new client, finding out how they heard about your shop. And at that moment, especially if it is a new client, in your mind, figuring out that, marketing is working, you know, and that phone call could be $300 to $400 of marketing expense just to get that phone call or that one phone call from that new client to ring. And that it's very, for that phone to ring, it's very important to keep that in mind. Again, your marketing dollars that the company's spending to generate leads, whether it be through Google ads, Facebook ads, SEO, website, however the client found or heard about you, even if it was word of mouth, I mean, it's all considered marketing. So again, keeping in mind, as an advisor, that when that phone rings, if it's a new client, finding out how they heard about you and doing your best to say yes, to get them in the door and help them out. I mean, it's considered a call of action. The client has done their part. They have called and they need something. They need your help. So, let's get them in, let's help them out. But I only mention that because I think earlier or early in my career, I was very just, the phone would ring, you get off the phone, you'd make the appointment, the phone would ring, and that phone would just keep ringing and keep ringing. And to be honest, I mean, to some degree, it seemed on most days it was just annoyance because you couldn't really make time to get anything else done. But as years grew, for me being a service advisor and, understanding the importance of that phone ringing, if that phone's not ringing, then there's a problem. You don't have the opportunity to get clients in the door and help them out. And that is definitely going to impact your business in a negative manner. So, again, from a marketing perspective, keeping that in mind that when that phone rings, if it's a new client, marketing is working. So, I will lament. So, you know, when that phone rings, there's typically two clients. There is a client that has a problem or a concern, and that to me is considered a sense of urgency. And the other client that calls is the client that is going to have some, we'll call it routine service or maintenance. The client that has the concern or problem, that to me is a more sense of urgency. And the client that calls with the service or maintenance, that client is typically going to be more flexible on an appointment, meaning not push them out, but if you don't exactly have room on the schedule in a day or two, you can likely work with them to get them in coming days or maybe the next week. Whereas the client that has the concern or problem, again, that's the more sense of urgency to get in the door. And I know that sounds very just easy, but again, with everything we have going on a daily basis as a service advisor, just, really being in tune with the schedule. And if you're one service advisor at a shop with two or three technicians, typically you're doing all the scheduling. If there's two service advisors and anywhere from, 4 to 6 technicians, then communication definitely needs to be there between both service advisors when scheduling appointments. and booking appointments. But one thing that's helped me over the years is the Google Calendar. And I would not just put in new appointment bookings. I would account for sold jobs on the calendar, and not in a dollar amount sense, but blocks of time. So we would have our normal, say it was a Wednesday, just picking any random day during the week that we were open. If it was a Wednesday, we would have anywhere from probably 7 to 10 new appointments or service reservations that day coming in. And prior to that day on Tuesday, for the workload, anything that was sold on Tuesday that was sold or bought work from a client from using your client guided sales, I would take the hours of that job and add them to the Wednesday calendar in blocks of time. So Mr. or Mrs. Jones had a BMW X5. It needs a water pump. That's going to take our technician 3 to 4 hours to do. And I would actually block out that time on the calendar. So I'm not only accounting for new incoming service reservations or appointments that day, but I'm also accounting for blocks of time of things that haven't been done yet. And reason I was doing that is because when it was just me making the appointments and booking the service reservations, I was able to already know what was in the shop. There wasn't another person I had to really communicate with for that. But when we got to two service advisors, I had to change my thought process. And that way we weren't overbooking or underbooking. But I think also a big part of the puzzle, if you would, is, knowing your technicians and what they're capable of. And again, just communication. Just over the years, knowing what they're good at. If you get that phone call, hey, Mrs. Jones has a vehicle that's overheating, you're already kind of thinking in your head, I'm going to pair that with this particular technician. He's good at doing those. And, kind of think ahead and make appointments or service reservations from that perspective. But again, I think the people that call in that have a more, problem or concern, that's a better sense, more sense of urgency to get them in sooner. And the ones that call in for service or maintenance, again, those are ones that, are a little more flexible with appointment scheduling. But always try and find a way to say yes. It's very easy to say, when someone calls, you're looking at your schedule, it seems like it's really booked. I mean, you have to account for, there are going to be people that, unfortunately aren't going to show up for their appointment, even though they've confirmed their appointment. Don't show up, don't call, don't come in. You have to account for the, that percentage, that slim percentage, but that, of work that's not there. So I'd rather stay a little overbooked, if you would, and knowing that some of those things may happen through the week where some of those previous scheduled service reservations may fall through the cracks. Chances are, if you had someone in a week prior for service maintenance or work on their car, and they purchase some additional work on the DVI that you'd sent them, and they want to come in next week to do the work, chances are they're coming back. That's going to be a definite confirmed appointment. They're coming back to do that. So, but I'm talking about, the ones that just may not show up. And there's been some clients over the years, I'm sure everybody's had that one or two clients that, you have to constantly remind them, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, please, remember you have an appointment with us tomorrow. Send them on a text, send them an email reminder, and they may not show up. But so again, just accounting for those. But especially the ones that when clients call, hey, my window, I put it down and it won't go up, and it's easy to look at the schedule and go, well, I'm fully committed for tomorrow and Thursday, and I don't think I'll be able to get you until next week. That it's not going to help them. I mean, they can't wait that long. They're not going to wait that long. Think of that. Treat it like it was your mom's car, your sister's car. You would want to get them in as soon as possible. And believe me, if you want to find a way to do it, you'll find a way to do it. So, especially for people that have, a window that just went down, have them get to the shop, get it inside, put it in the shop for the night. I mean, it's there. Overheating situations. I've had a lot of clients call over the years, hey, unexpected situation, my car, it's overheating. What do I do? You can tell the, sense of urgency in their voice. Even if the schedule's packed, just take it off their mind. We got you. Do you need a tow truck? Do you have AAA? We'll get it to the shop, but also be realistic. Let them know that, hey, we are unfortunately running behind on the workload for tomorrow, but if you can at least get it here, we'll get a chance to check it out in the next day or two. All they really want to do is know that they can get it somewhere as soon as possible, so I don't have to worry about it sitting in a parking lot or broke down on the side of the road. And, just again, just have some empathy for them and their situation and what's happened. And, nobody wants to get that phone call of, or no one wants to make that phone call, my car broke down or whatever. It's embarrassing to some people, but it happens. And you have to be willing, and you always have to say yes, get them in the door. That's very important. So, and again, just knowing your technicians, knowing their workload, what they're really capable of, what the week looks like that week. I mean, there's so many puzzle pieces, if you would, to the scheduling. To maximize, as Chris said, service bay utilization. So, primary factors. Excuse me. Know who's going to be there that week. Are you going to have technicians out? Are technicians going to be out on vacation? If a technician calls in sick, are you able to slide things around a little bit? I've had to make phone calls over the years, especially early in the morning. Come in early in the morning and there's a voicemail or an email from a technician. Hey, I got sick the night before. I won't be in today, or something came up with my kid. I've got to stay home. Don't freak out. I mean, stuff happens. And I've had to call clients over the years. Hey, I apologize. You're not the only person I'm having to call today, but unfortunately, we had a technician out and we won't be able to work on your car today, but do you still want to drop it off? I mean, if you can accommodate them and get them to drop it off and they're aware of what's going on and they're cool with that, roll with it. It's fine. I mean, stuff happens. It's life. It's not a life or death situation in most instances, most cases. If a client calls, hey, my brakes are grinding. I really like to drop off the car before you close today. Yes, absolutely. Get them in the door. But again, if you're going to be busy the next day, just be honest with them. Let them know. You're welcome to drop the car off. I may not be able to check it out tomorrow for you, but we'll look at it as soon as possible. Just be realistic with them, so they're not thinking that they dropped it off and you're going to call them in the morning and it's going to be done the next day. I mean, really isn't that really isn't how it works. And I know that, the service advisors, but they may not know that. And to us, it's common sense. It's common sense to us of some of those situations. But again, from the client's perspective, they really don't know what's going on at the shop. It's your responsibility to let them know what's going on and how you can help them and serve them. But always find a way to say yes. Get them in, help them out. And again, the ones that are service maintenance related, I'm not saying push them off, but like I said, they will likely be a little more flexible with scheduling. But, just when you think your shop is maxed out, what happens? You've got a car on the lift, you've got an oil pan to do on a BMW. Most technicians, that's a 7-8 hour job, and something happens. The parts don't show up, or the part that you did order, unfortunately from UPS, yes, it didn't get shipped out. And that car's stuck on a lift, and your technician may not have something to do after that. Because you accounted for just that car for him for the day. Always try and take in some extra stuff. I've always encouraged shops over the years to do night drops, encourage night drops for people or clients. Best time to do that, get them to drop it off overnight. That way the car's cooled down. You can get it in first thing in the morning. And that's bay utilization. I mean, you're not waiting for the car to cool down. And also, as a service advisor, one thing that's going to help you too is when you're doing the walk around of the vehicle, when the client drops off the vehicle, whether it was a night drop or they dropped it off the morning of, when you're doing the walk around. I think a lot of us are in a hurry with the morning rush, if you would, and we're doing bare minimum. We're snapping a pic of the VIN, we're getting the mileage, we're cranking it up, we're just moving it to the next spot in the parking lot, off the front line, or at the front of the building, if you would, and throwing it in park and running in the door and typing up the RO and getting it to the technician. And hey, slow down, slow down. Check out that car while you've got it in the parking lot. And what I mean by that, BMWs especially, if it's a single driver car, chances are they probably don't ever go in the rear doors. And if you hit the remote twice, all the locks are supposed to go up. And I've seen, especially on BMWs, the lock actuators, they have a high rate of failure. Hit that remote twice, let all the locks go up if they can, or when you lock it, the ones that have issues that kind of make like a little brrr noise when you go to lock it, very indication lock actuator is failing. Crank up the car, check the CBS, especially on a BMW, condition based service indicator. Is it coming up on any service or maintenance that might be needed? And these aren't necessarily, I mean, yeah, I guess they're considered upsells, but again, you're looking out for the client. They may not be aware of some of these things that are coming up. You can save them a trip. You can let them know about something that they may not be aware of. It shows them that you're really caring about their car and their time. But again, with scheduling, it's not as complex as I think a lot of people think it is. It's just paying attention to what's in the shop, knowing what's in the shop. And what I mean by that is really like you, as a service advisor, you should be able to go out in the shop at any given time, look at the car that's on the lift, know what that car is there for, and kind of have a mental log in your head. Okay, where is it in the process? Are we waiting for parts? Is he almost done? Is he doing the diagnostic on it? Where you're at with the client, just all those things. You're firing on all cylinders. You're talking to the technician. Hey, I don't have a promise time on the shot for the client, but I'd love to know, is it something you think you can get done today? And what we find also is, when things go good, the efficiency part of it, that job may be done sooner than anticipated. So, do you have another car lined up for your technician to check out? A diagnostic, a suspension concern, a brake noise, whatever. But again, just it's communication and really just between the front and the back of the house, technicians, service advisors, and that really I think builds it helps solve the puzzle. It's communication, open communication. But again, people that call with specific, panic calls. That's what I would probably refer to them as, and I should have probably 10 minutes ago. Panic calls. You can tell in someone's voice. They're worried. It's my car's overheating. It's making this loud clunking noise. You can tell they're uncomfortable. I mean, put them at ease. Again, get it to the shop. Ask them if they got AAA towing. If they don't have AAA, I'm sure you've got a tow truck that you could recommend, or maybe you've got a towing service in house, and just get it off their mind, get it to your shop. But again, if you're going to be busy in a day or, for the next day or two, just be realistic with them. We can get it here, but I may not have the opportunity to check it out until X date, but we'll try to be as efficient as possible. We might be able to look at it tomorrow, but maybe not, but just be transparent with them. And I guarantee they're still going to want to bring it in, but we have to look for ways to say yes. When that phone rings, it is a yes, unless it's just something that you just really don't do. But we'd also like to thank our sponsor, Worldpack. This episode is sponsored by Worldpack and the Worldpack Training Institute. And this podcast is your go-to source for service advising and the automotive industry insights. Be sure to check out worldpack.com for the latest in auto parts distribution and worldpacktraining.com to explore training programs that can and will take your career to the next level. Stay connected with Worldpack on their Facebook page and join the community. Also, there is a awesome expo coming up in 2026. That is going to be the STX Training Expo that will be taking place in Washington, D.C. at the 2026 Worldpack STX. So mark that on your calendars. Service Advisor Nation, I appreciate y'all. I really wish everybody a happy new year. It is the first week of January. Really excited about 2025 rolling in, and just everybody up on their game and helping clients. And again, be yourselves. I mentioned that the last episode. Be yourselves. Don't read from a script. Be yourself. Apply your knowledge. Help people along the way. And again, with scheduling, it's not rocket science. It really isn't. It's just common sense and the word yes. Look for ways to say yes to your clients, whether they're new, whether they're existing, whether it's a referral. However, figure out how they found out about you and just keep the relationship going. And again, building and maintaining client relationships. But the scheduling part of it, really, it's not too difficult. Common sense, and just find a way to say yes. Squeeze it in, work it in. I'm sure you can find a way to make it work, and it's going to be better for your clients, They're going to appreciate you that you're helping them. It's going to be great for your technicians. They're not going to be standing around. They're going to have extra work to do. And yes, they probably will gripe a little bit. Hey, I've got too much on my plate. But again, let them know, it's not all promised today. They can only do one car at a time. We're human. We're human. We're not machines. Work together, make it happen, help the clients. Service Advisor Nation, appreciate you. And this is Michael Doherty for AutoFix-Auto Cast. All right. See you later.